Hey guys, I share Rage Legends. Welcome to the video. Send us some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need it out there today. Today, we are taking a look at Leminisi, the Goldwing. I was actually going to put this video, I wanted to put this video out last night, right after I claimed her, but I have been so busy coming off a weekend with the lady, also spending as much time as I can with my kiddo. He's actually going to be out of commission, and honestly, I'm super stressed and anxious and worried. He's getting his tonsils out. I know it's such a minor surgery, no big deal, but I don't know. It's my first time he's ever been put under, and I'm just like, my little guy. I'm just worried about it. But anyway, trying to get in, just trying to make the most of my summer, TLDR, right? Anyway, I'm putting it out today, and man, this is one of the most polarizing champions that we've had in a long time in Raid. Really, Leminisi, the Goldwing, a freebie. I looked at a lot of the dev build content around this champion as well. There's a lot of content already out there on her. Odds are some of you guys already have maxed her out and have your own opinions, which I'd love to hear in the comments below. But man, some people like her. The decent nuker can help in some areas, like Amos, for example, with a heal reduction. Maybe a little bit of Hydra in there, maybe. Obviously, in faction wars and more restrictive content, right? As well. Some people hate her. Don't even forget about putting books in her. Don't take her even to level 60. You're wasting your resources. Trash, Plarium, screw you. I've seen both of those opinions. So I'm going to give you mine today. But first, really quickly, and what I want to do too is instead of like showing her just mindlessly nuke in every dungeon, I want to compare her to another champion, kind of a damage comp for you guys. So at least you know what you're expecting if you haven't invested in her yet, right? I also want to show you the area rankings, the multipliers, and the overall scores on hellhades.com because I found them interesting myself. A lot higher than I had anticipated, than I expected. So an attack-based champion, let's be real. You can say what you want about this champion, but the design is pretty awesome, right? I love the one wing kind of motif, right? I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm so heavy on fantasy novels lately, but everything looks cool to me. We have an event coming Friday for Lair the Lost. Now, this is a freaking champion design, isn't it? Wow, it's going to be on a 10x with a 2x on Sacreds on Friday, by the way. Anyway, back to Leminisi. Leminisi, excuse me. So, attack-based champion, her base attack is 1520, not bad. On her A1, I'm actually not going to read it. Odds are you're familiar with her kit, so I'm not going to read every little word of that stuff to you guys. Her A2, intercept the threat on a 3-turn cooldown. Win book, 2 books go into this. She starts at a 5-turn cooldown. Each hit, 100% chance at removing 2 random buffs from the target. I love the buff removal. Decent multipliers here as well. She has a 3 multiplier on the A2. That's a godlike damage rating on hellhades.com. She has a 2.1 multiplier on her A1. Again, we'll compare that in a bit here. The skill deals more damage equal to the value of the target's current turn meter. Stacks up to 100%. So man, if you time this ability correctly, you can get some real significant extra damage there, right? On the A3, Venerated Warrior, 3-turn cooldown when booked. It's an AoE times 2. It's a 2 multiplier times 2. Doesn't blow me away, honestly. First hit has a heal reduction, 100% when booked. Second hit has a 50%, 75% when booked, placing a block buffs. This is a real shame because, I mean, she could be a really decent, for a lot of players, Hydra champion, but you really want that block buffs at 100%. You really do, in Hydra specifically. Now, that being said, you know, still not an awful ability to have, especially in progression mode in Raid. Scourge of Evil on her passive. Receives 15% less damage from enemies under heal reduction. Fills his champion's turn meter by 5% whenever an enemy receives a shield buff or is healed. That can actually be some pretty significant going against healers specifically, given there's no cooldown here. It just happens anytime anybody's healed or has a turn meter increase, right? Or receives a shield. So she'll get the turn meter increase. That actually can add up quite a bit, which is nice in some battles, in some niche situations like wave content. Now, I'll tell you what, Sylvan Watchers and Faction Wars Hard is probably the hardest faction. It's really challenging, especially the end stages. So, I probably can and maybe will use her. There's not a ton of viable and competent damage dealers. Obviously, like if you have nice, congratulations, right? You get a little cheat code there. Kaldor, kind of the same thing. Allele is good. There's a few others, specifically Epics and Pan and Dati, right? But it's not chock full of nukers. So, I'm sure a lot of players will end up being able to use her in restrictive content. Now, she doesn't blow me away. Newsflash. I think the ratings on her, honestly, we talk a lot about ratings and how they mean nothing in game here on the channel, but I will say that, kind of a spoiler, I think these are kind of dead on. What is this, like a C+ rating, I would say? Maybe like 3.9 out of 5, 3.8 out of 5. I think that's kind of a fair grade for her overall. I want to pull up really quickly Hell Hades area rankings on the website. As I mentioned, I was pretty surprised that they gave her a 4 overall grade. Man, a 4 out of 5, that's pretty high. I was not expecting that. Area rankings, where are we using this champion, right? She has 1 Chimera trial, certainly not Chimera, that's for sure. Centrano's hard. She's available in 41 stages of hard mode. That's not bad. Again, restrictive content. Amos, as we mentioned, 4.5 stars with that heal reduction. Very competent, can help with the damage as well. And then progression. This speaks to just seeing the area rankings. She's pretty much a progression champion, right? And again, restrictive content. Hard mode dungeons, not much here. They give her a 4 out of 5 in the spider. Honestly, I think that's probably a bit kind. But I like the heal reduction. There's not a lot of heal reductions champions out there. And keep in mind, too, in terms of utility where we can use her, it's not just, when you think heal reduction, you think Amos, but it's not just Amos. Nether Spider, like I don't leave home without a heal reduction in Nether Spider, comboing with kind of a Geomancer, a Vogoth, maybe a block damage, like a Helicast strategy. That's a strategy that I use, and heal reduction is imperative there. Of course, there's champions like Venomage, who also is great, but, she can be viable in that area. Also in Fire Knight, with the heal reduction, can be super viable there. So heal reduction is, I think, an slightly underrated debuff out there. All right, it's damage time here, guys. So what I did was, I'm going to use the same gear on 2 Force Affinity Sylvan Watchers and just compare the damage for you guys, right? So, Leminisi. So I put her in pretty good gear, not like God tier, but pretty good gear, and we're just going to A/B test, okay? So Savage and Cruel and Pinpoint. How are we building this champion? Well, we want accuracy, obviously, because of the debuffs. We want damage, right? And she's attack-based. So stat priorities are obviously going to be attack, crit rate to 100%, crit damage, and attack, and some speed, right? And some accuracy. So not the easiest champion to build, unfortunately. It's a shame, right? Because part of me, it's just like, she's not like awful, but she's not that great. She's like maybe a little bit better than Alexander the Sharpshooter, right? Like not that bad, but certainly nowhere near some of the freebies they've given us in the past, like the Ninjas and the Sun Wukongs and, the Artax, like they've given us some really good freebies in the past, even Loki. That being said, though, let's take a look at the gear really quickly here. Crit damage on the gauntlets, attack percentage on the chest, speed with speed on the boots. I think those are going to be the choices that most players go for. I have accuracy on the banner. I have crit damage on the amulet, and I have attack on the ring. I do have 2 pinpoint accessories. Been farming my event dungeon, which they actually nerfed. I don't know. It wasn't like super noticeable to me, but I haven't taken a deep dive yet. I just threw a Malefic, Talon on her for the crit damage. I'm looking for crit damage or attack on the relic. I didn't want to go anything higher than rare for you guys. I obviously do not have her awakened, thus no blessing. If I did have a blessing or awakening, on her, for me, Nature's Wrath. Nature's Wrath in longer battles all the way. Nature's Wrath in most situations. Inside the arena specifically, I'd probably go Soul Reap if I was just going to use her in PvP. She's not great in the arena, to be fair. You could probably get better options. You probably have better options on your account. I don't think, for a lot of players, I'm not sure she's worth booking necessarily, but it's one of those situations where you take her to 50, you mess around. If you're on the fence, right? you mess around a little bit. If you like what you see, maybe take her to 60. If you really like what you see and you're like, okay, I can use her in these situations. Maybe she's your Nether Spider champion. Maybe she's your Amos champion. She's not available on this rotation. Otherwise, I'd show her. That's the sucky thing about Amos, right? It's like you can't use half the champion pool anyway. Then book her out. But certainly do not run out and use all your books on her, especially if you're free to play or if you're low on legendary skill tomes. I don't think she's a necessarily drop everything and book champion. Frankly, she's far from it, you know? All right, I already had her crit capped. Otherwise, I would go crit rate. I just went very, very basic, and I ended with War Master here. For wave content, for the arena, I'd go Helm Smasher, but because I want an AB damage test, I do not want the RNG of Helm Smasher. And then on the support tree, just helping with the mastery. Most importantly, Sniper. Sniper and Master Hexer are going to be important on her, specifically Sniper, to take that block buffs on the A3, to take it up to an 80% chance when booked, right? Or a 55% chance when not booked. Okay, that's the build, guys. We talked a little bit about everything else. I think we can go into battle. We're going to compare her to Pan the Bowhorn, by the way. That's going to be our comp. They're both Force Affinity champions. I do have Pan the Bowhorn, though. I do have an Awakening on him and full empowerment. So, you know, we'll talk about that more as we get to it, but it's going to be a bit unfair. I don't have an epic comp that's not empowered on my account, but he does have an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown. He has a strong single target move too, so I thought this would be the best comp, Pan the Bowhorn versus Leminisi. So anyway, let's go ahead and take her into battle, right? Let's go ahead and take her into good old Dragon's Lair. So I'll take her into Dragons. What we're going to do is we're going to take her into Dragons level 25. And we're just going to set her up with a debuffer. So Lydia is going to come in with a decreased defense in the weekend. And we're going to set her up with all the buffs that she needs to maximize our damage. Increase attack, increase crit rate, like we don't really need it. And increase crit damage as well. All right, so let's see what she can do for damage here. So we'll start by debuffing. And then we're going to go ahead and hand it over to our girl. And then we're going to go with the AoE. So again, this is the Venerated Warrior, her A3 ability. I'm going to slow it down. Let's check it out here. So what kind of damage can we expect? I would say like 50 to 60 times 2k damage. So let's go ahead and end it. Let's remember that number there. 580,000. I want to test out her A1 and her A2 for you guys as well. So again, kind of repeat the process. 580,000. That wasn't that bad, honestly. It wasn't that bad at all. Let's check out that A3. Who's the tankiest who we're going against here? I guess Oathbound would be the tankiest. So we'll target Oathbound. Oops, I did it again. Just A/B testing, guys. I meant to do that. I meant to do the wrong ability. This time 540. So a little bit of RNG there. But again, now let's test out the A1 and the A2. Take two. All right. So a 2 ability against Oathbound, we're looking at 107 and 90. Not too bad. 107 and 90. Let's just test out her A1. We don't have to redo the battle there. Let's test out that A1. Again, her A1 is a 2-time hitter. I don't have to go single speed here, Ash, the entire battle. A1, boom. Sentinel 50, 100 and whatever, 110-ish K. Not bad. All right. I do want to mess around in the arena, but quickly let's mule our gear around and compare her to Pan the Bowhorn. Okay, guys, the most annoying thing in the game, I saw Drock mention this recently too, is when the pop-up comes right over here, when you have a gear, when you don't have a leveled up piece of gear or no gear on a champion, and it's blocking you and you can't get rid of it. Do you guys hate that too? And also, while I'm at it, a little rant here, time out for a rant. I'm having so many visual bugs, like health bars disappearing, champions running in the wrong direction to attack the mob. Anybody else out there? All right, guys, so what I'm going to do is, just to get Pan the Bowhorn fully awake and fully empowered with the same stats as her, or at least a little bit closer to the same stats, I'm going to make some adjustments, just to try to make it a little bit more even playing field. So I'm actually going to remove the Blessing. I'm going to change Crushing Rend to, like, Commanding Presence. I will say, by the way, just while I redo his masteries here. I will say that one thing that is pretty cool is that moving all that gear around, even though my presets weren't working, is I used my free gear removal. You guys liking that? I hesitate to ask you, but I like it if you can remember to use it when you actually need it, right? And when you really need it, you don't have it or whatever. But hey, at least I'm saving a little bit of silver. Be right back. All right, guys. So I got their stats to be the same, very, very close to. So let's go ahead and make a comparison. Now, this is an epic champion, but to be fair, he's one of the more powerful epic nukers in terms of raw damage out there in the game in terms of Pan the Bowhorn. Obviously, the same affinity as well. So let's go ahead and get Pan in the squad, do a little bit of A/B testing. I'm going to take them both into the arena after this, and we'll see what they can do in the arena as well, kind of comparatively, mainly testing Leminisi. All right, so let's hand it to Pan. Here we go. AoE, boom. Okay, that was actually pretty close. 6, okay, so a little bit more damage from Pan the Bowhorn. And again, there's no ring. We took away his blessing as well to help mitigate. He is still getting the blessing stats though, but we made sure the stats were as close as we could to equal anyway. So Pan out damage. Let's do it again with the, now keep in mind, excuse me, Pan is also not bringing a lot of the extra things, right? The debuffs, for example, on the AoE so far, nor is he bringing the extra damage of the buff removal. So it's not like it's a bit apples and oranges in terms of the rest of the utility that these champions are bringing to the table. But Pan certainly can out-nuke. It seems like by an epic too. So there is that, right? Let's go ahead and again, it's not a perfect test. There isn't such thing as a perfect test in the game, but I figured it'd be more beneficial to have a little bit of A/B testing. All right, guys, let's test out the A3 or the single target ability of Pan here really quickly, right? So we're going to go in there. We're going to go with the A3 against Oathbound. We'll slow it down really quickly. We got 6, 12, 18. Okay, so a little bit less than Leminisi on the single target. So we'll give it to, let's try out the A1 really quickly here, right? It is noteworthy too on her A2 ability, her single target move, Leminisi that is, that she has that buff removal too. That's really handy. And we've talked a little bit, we mentioned Amos a few times so far in the video. That's a huge move too. Removing the positive versions of the buff on Amos, so you add that to the heal reduction, and it's a really robust kit for that specific boss. All right, let's test out the A1 here. And we're getting 6, 12. So I don't remember exactly the score, I'll be honest with you guys, but fairly good comp overall, I would say. Maybe a little bit more on the AoE here from Pan. And again, Pan to me is one of the best just raw damage epic nukers out there. So it's not a slight to say that he's better or a comp to her, in my opinion. And, you know, like I said, we removed the ring. We tried to artificially match those stats, even considering the blessing stats that we get here. Let's go ahead and jump into the arena, guys. All right, guys, I found a tanky team here in the arena that we can go ahead and get a quick little, you know, litmus test on Pan, and then we'll do another comp here in the arena, and I'll give my final assessment on this champion. Is she as bad as everybody says she is? All right, so I'm going to slow this nuke down. Let's take a look at the damage here. Woo! He almost killed everybody. 110K-ish. Wow. Okay, let's change the gear back. Be right back. All right, guys, same team here, all void. Let's see what we can do here with her A3 ability. I should have tested the A2 too, shouldn't I? My bad. All right, A3, here we go. Slow it down. What are we looking at here? Boom. I mean, very comparable, right? I feel like that comp is pretty on point. So let's give kind of a final assessment of this champion as we kind of auto through a little bit of arena in the background. Where do I stand on her? Like with everything, like we said at the beginning of the video, right? It depends. It depends on where you are. I already gave my advice, right? But just in case anybody is going toward the end of the video, fast forwarding to get the final synopsis here, I don't think she's an absolute F-tier champion. I think she could be a useful champion for a lot of players out there, to be totally honest with you. But there is always the cost of the upgrades to consider, right? She's not as easy to upgrade as a rare or an epic champion who we've been comparing her to, frankly, you know? But especially if you can use those debuffs, You are seeing her in fairly good gear, you know, obviously against these teams, but you're seeing the damage is pretty nice, specifically if you need a Sylvan Watcher damage dealer, right? I would absolutely invest in her, right? She's not going to be your main arena nuker for most players out there. For endgame players, probably not going to have a lot of utility for this champion, again, unless you're really struggling for damage in Faction Wars. Faction Wars hard, especially, can be well, very freaking hard, right? But sometimes some of these waves that are very tricky, even like the keeping your champions alive with 75% HP, right? You wouldn't think, intuitively you think, okay, I need a lot of support on this team. But sometimes it's just having enough firepower, right, can get you through those waves actually easier. So having a really competent nuker, especially if you're lacking one, could definitely benefit a lot of players out there. But let's be real too, at the end of the video, you know, we've given glass half full. Glass half empty is there does seem to be a bit of a degradation in the quality of these free champions that we've been getting, right? She's no Rathalos. And again, she's not like the champions of 2023 and 2024 for the most part, but I don't think she's as bad as Alexander and some of the other previous stinkers, Adolin, for example. I think she's a lot better than those champions. So kind of in the middle. Like I said at the beginning, I think she's kind of a C+ champion, but one that some players could definitely get utility from. That's my opinion. You guys can let me know why I'm wrong in the comments below. Thank you for watching till the end of the video. Much love. And as always, take care, guys.